Okay, good. All right, good evening. I'd like to call the April 17th, 2018 Board of Selectmen's meeting to order. Can we all please stand for the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, so Chairman's announcements. To those of us that are following the Dynamic Douglas Facebook page, in light of a lot of the discussion, argument, and heated debate that's taking place on social media, I opted to put together a town hall meeting that's going to take place here next Tuesday at 7 o'clock to try and address some of the questions and concerns and hopefully put to rest some of the bickering that's been taking place. As entertaining as it is, it's I think it's gotten to a point where it's out of hand. So maybe offering some fact as opposed to fiction might calm some of that down a little bit. So that's all I have. Is there anybody here for anything that's not sitting on, not currently on our agenda? Seeing as the standard 2 people in the audience are here for an agenda item, we'll move on to Article 1, or item number 1, town meeting overview with our town moderator and town clerk. So if Chris and Keith could.
Hello. There you go. Practice what I preach. Don't vibrate.
There you go.
How's everyone doing?
How are you? Oh, wonderful.
So let's jump right into it. This is usually the time where I come and ask you guys questions, and you guys ask me questions. And so I'll start with, why do you hate me?
We don't have enough time.
Are you guys all Rooster fans? Is it like what? Yeah. So
It was the Pringles.
man. So as a little side note. We actually had a bet a few meetings ago of whether or not I could actually get the meeting done in one night. And Christine paid on that bet. I actually, we were able to get that meeting done in one night. Man, this one's gonna be tough. There's a lot of meat on this article, and this warrant. And we're certainly gonna do our best. But we should probably start looking at continuing date, for the meeting, which, given the ballot,
It's the next night.
yeah, being the next night, that would probably not work. So we need to look at the repercussions of that, and try and figure out how we have a budget when we haven't closed the meeting, or how we have a ballot, before closing the meeting. Again, I'm really hoping it doesn't come to that, but like I said, there's a lot of meat, in this warrant. So let's start with it. I've been looking at it and trying to. One of the things I always try to balance is how do we make sure that the items that need to be discussed and people need to have their voices heard on, they're heard, while trying to eliminate some of the more rote parts of town meeting, and kind of boil that down and make the most efficient use of our time. I'm going to try something new this year on Articles 2 and 3 of the special town meeting. And basically what I'm going to do is take a motion from the floor. Do we expect any changes to either of those as what is printed in the warrant?
No.
Okay, so that being said, what I'll do is I'll get up there and say, is there a motion to pass Article 2 as printed in the warrant? Or, is there a motion to move Article 2 as printed in the warrant? Yeah, so moved, second, unanimous consent, dispose of that one, dispose of Article 3 the same way. Article 4, I don't see a way to do that. I think that it's not something that is kind of routine of town meeting. You know, so Articles 4 and 5, we're gonna have to actually, you know, discuss and dispense of those in the normal channels. At that point, we will then move into town meeting. Anyone who's ever been to an annual town meeting, they're so much fun because we open the annual town meeting, and then we close the annual town meeting, open up the special town meeting, and then reopen the annual town meeting contingent upon the end of special town meeting. And if that doesn't confuse anyone who's never been there, I don't know what will, because I'm still trying to understand it, but that's what we do. And when we start our annual town meeting, we will, that is the point where we'll do the pledge. You know, I plan on starting on the dot at 7 p.m. I encourage everyone to be there extremely early, because we are going to be setting up an overflow room. Anyone who is not a registered voter moves into the overflow room until all the registered voters are seated. Then if we have empty space, non-registered voters will then be welcomed into the room. I have to reiterate, town meeting is a legislative body. It is you know, when you are in there, you are there as a legislator. As much as people who, you know, like to say, you know, free speech, I can say whatever I want. No, you can't. You'll sit where we tell you to sit. You'll speak when you're allowed to speak, and when you're cut off, you'll stop speaking or you'll be removed. And as much as I, you know, being you know, hard like that is not my favorite persona. Unfortunately, with meetings like this, where again we're trying to make sure that everybody has you know, the ability to be heard, we have to make sure that we're following the rules to the best of our abilities in order to move things along. So you know, that's the way that procedure will go as far as getting everyone in. We'll have the voter cards.
Yes.
Which will also make it easier to identify people. The only people who have the ability to speak at town meeting are registered voters. The only people who have the ability to vote at town meeting are registered voters. We allow other non-registered voters to speak at the pleasure of the meeting, such as you know, administration, who may be able to give certain insight on some of the articles. Any questions on any of that? No? Okay. So like I said, at that point, we'll move to the pledge. I do that because, you know, like I said, I plan on starting right at 7. As much as I'm hoping everyone is seated, I also understand that it just might not happen. And I really hate to be disrespectful, especially when I call veterans up to lead us in the pledge. So. There was some discussion about taking the order of the articles out of order. Is that still a possibility?
I don't think so.
I'm not a
Okay.
fan.
It wasn't
prefer they go
discussed
in
much
order.
that last meeting.
It was discussed with the finance committee on Monday, but Tuesday, it wasn't brought up again.
By Tuesday it was over? Okay.
So assume that they'll go in order.
No promises.
Okay. If there is any thought of taking stuff out of order, please let me know ahead of time. If you have any questions on the parliamentary procedure or any questions about what might be deemed within the scope of the article, please get with me ahead of time. I make much better decisions when I can think about them a little bit and ponder them than when I just try to make snap decisions. You know, I like to try and think about different angles of scope. So, like I said, just giving me a little bit of a heads up ahead of time is good. If you want to offer any amendments, again, those need to be in writing. We prefer them ahead of time so that we can make a slide on them so that everyone can follow along with the meeting to any amendments that might be going on. But they must be done in writing and submitted to Chris. So moving into the combined articles, what we do, and I'm sure you guys are all familiar with this, we will read, or a member of the Finance Committee will read the summary expenditures. So we'll start with total general government, and there'll be, you know, a pause. And if somebody has a question on one of the line items under total general government, they would yell hold. You know, we'll then, you know, at the end of that, we'll go back to any of the sections that we've said hold on. So like I said, that's pretty standard. Any questions on that?
I just wanted the board to know that he's looking at the flyer, you have the warrants, so that's why he has a little bit more information than you do.
I was just curious.
And
Oh.
I was looking for
I could
it.
tell the guys were.
Yeah, sorry about that. Okay. Article 3. So this is obviously the one that everyone is probably going to show up for. And people who are showing up for this article, I would highly recommend you stay for the entire meeting, because this is just one little piece of how we run our government. And if you're just showing up to vote yes or no on this one article and then saying, and then leaving, to me, that is basically like throwing up an obscene gesture to the rest of the people who are giving their time to actually plow through the rest of the articles and how the rest of the town is run, you know, once that article is passed or failed. So highly encourage people to stay. I know that there's going to be a lot of people who, you know, have to get babysitters or, you know, have other commitments or have to get up early in the morning. Yeah, we're spending a lot of money here, so you know, we're doing the town's business. You know,
Also
and-
could be a move to reconsider. So,
yeah, so the motion to reconsider is an interesting one. It's something that I would have to rule in order, and the only way that that I would accept a motion to reconsider is if there was new information that that was brought to light, you know, after after it passed or failed. That new information can't be, well, all those voters just left. So, but again, I'm really hoping that people take that responsibility seriously and aren't just showing up to be one article voters. Article 4, my exorbitant salary is listed on this one. So that is one that that I do make sure we you know, we debate on and you know, take up. Article 5. Has there been any discussion on what the motion that is going to be? And Jean, you might be able to answer this. What motion is actually going to be brought to the floor and by whom?
I think the Finance Committee is gonna make the motion, and their number mirrors the Board of Selectmen's number.
Okay.
So that would be to reduce the regional superintendent's request by 70,518.
And that is aimed to be within scope of what a reasonable person could expect that article to be discussed. The question that you have to determine is, does that meet the legal duty of you know, of the warrant? So just you know, make sure that you guys double check on that one. You know, because you don't want to then have our Attorney General breathing down our neck. Article 6, 7, 8. Yeah, 6, 7, and 8. So this is kind of what we started last year with a pseudo consent agenda. This is all housekeeping stuff. Everything looks pretty much the same, you know, give or take some money from last year. But basically all it is doing is giving the authority to spend that money, so, and operate those departments. So I'm going to take Article 6, 7, 8, and 6, 7, 8, yeah, 6, 7, and 8 as one article. and look for unanimous consent on that. Again, I'll probably take that one from the floor. You know, is there a motion to pass Articles 6, 7, and 8 as printed in the warrant? Any questions on that? So, save us a little bit of time on housekeeping stuff. Let's see. Article 9, obviously we'll have to bring that up. Article 10 is, I would consider next year, and this just might be something that we want to consider, moving Article 10 up in the warrant, so that we could then take Articles, 6, 7, 8, 9, whatever, and make that as part of the consent agenda. Because this one is obviously kind of similar housekeeping for just allowing the different entities to run.
I'm assuming we couldn't take 10 out of order and lump it in with 6, 7, and 8.
I'll think about it. Yeah, I'll think about it. Article 11. Pretty standard. So that's one that we would be discussing. Article 12 obviously needs to be discussed. Anytime you move into money in or out of the stabilization fund that has a different vote, that's needed. Article 13 and 14, the ratification of the contracts. If I could please get a before and after on those. I've requested those in the past, just for, this is what the contract was before, this is what the contract is now. And just a couple slides on that so that we can speak about that intelligently. Article 15, dive rescue. Article 16, really, that had to be on this warrant?
That's gonna be quick.
Think?
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll see.
I don't like the.
Depends if you do your job.
Yeah, all right.
Wow.
Do your job.
We'll see.
It just reminds me of the sign bylaw. That's the only,
Yeah, no,
not
that's-
in substance.
I lived
Not
through
in
that
substance,
one, too.
just in,
Yeah, I don't think
Keith,
that's
what's
the
the guidelines on time? I know we have to take a vote to go past, what is it, 10 o'clock?
10 o'clock. Yeah.
How late can we go in total, since we're up against it here with the vote?
We go till 2 a.m.
Okay.
But it's up to the, it's up to the body,
Right.
and what they have the stomach for. And at some point, you lose quorum,
Yep.
it's game over. So, obviously, Chris is gonna bring me a Mountain Dew. I'm gonna do my best.
As long as we're out of there before the roosters start crowing. we'll
Yeah,
be down.
I wanna be out of there before the ballots open, the next day.
Rooster
Can be
comment.
nice.
But yeah, at 10 p.m. is the limit, and then we accept a motion to keep it going. Zoning bylaw.
I think 19 will end up with some discussion.
I would. If I was a bet man, I'd say Article 18 will wind up with more discussion than 19.
You think so?
If I was a betting man.
Just leave a Pringles on it.
We'll see.
All right.
We'll see.
Smart money's on Mr. Moderator's money. Double down on the moderator's bet.
Public way, yeah, so, Article 20 and 21, those two seem pretty standard. I may take those two together. I need to think about that one a little bit, because I know we have to do a, is that one the planning board needs to submit a, yeah. So, like I said, we might take those two together, just where, yeah. Article 22, I think is an interesting article as well. So there's obviously, there's a lot of meat to that one. So yeah, there's, like I said, there's a lot of stuff that has a lot of potential for impact to the town and discussion. So very curious to see how this goes. I would like to remind people that, and this is another thing I'm trying to come up with. You guys ever watch like the British Parliament? You know, and something happens and all the people who are in favor, they're like, here! You know, kind of wondering about starting that. And the reason is because I don't think.
Can they whistle if they disagree?
No disagree. No. Just only if your side, you know, and basically what I want it to be, and again, this is just, I was eating leftover Chinese food, so maybe I'm not thinking clearly, but when I came up with this idea, which is, we get repetition, right? And repetition is the enemy of, you know, of expediency and efficiency. And if we want all unique voices to be heard and give everybody an opportunity to speak, then we need to make sure that people are offering unique perspectives. Okay, so it's not just, you know, yeah, I know what that guy said, and I just want to say it again, because that's just going to take up time. So I'm just kind of thinking about like and then move on, you know. But I don't know. I'm trying to come up with anything I can to try to get this done at one night. I don't know when the last time a multiple night meeting has happened in Douglas, and I don't want to be responsible for the first.
Limit discussion to 2 minutes with a buzzer.
That's in there. Yep, that's in there. So that's the next thing I was actually going to say. Once I got there, we're going to be doing the seating. You guys will be up on the up on the stage. You know, again, we'll have the administration down on the bottom. You guys will have mics. Please make sure that we're not doing back and forth. Okay, so when somebody asks a question, wait for me to recognize you before you speak. When somebody has a follow-up, wait until I recognize you again for the follow-up. That's the only way that this can work. But we're trying to make sure that we have as much seating as possible for voters in that room. If we can get by without using the overflow room, that just helps everything. So that's what we're shooting for. After Q&A, because you know how we always do the question and answer before we move into discussion. After the question and answer, you may be seated, because like Kevin and I always talk about is that, you know, you got your proponent speech, you got to do the question and answer. You know, now other people get to debate. So I know you're like, yeah, but I really want to answer that question. But that's, you know, that's your bites of the apple. So. And we're working with the school to hopefully have a fully functioning overflow room should we need it, which it's a double-edged sword. You want participation, man. You know, I want the whole town there. I want everybody to be heard. I want everyone to be respectful of each other and to be respectful of the process. You know, and to be part of town meeting. But by the same token, you know, our facilities are limited. So you know, just understand that if we have to go into the overflow room, it is going to be more difficult, and that much more patience will be needed.
It was entertaining with the overflow room last time.
Yes. Yeah, the other room does add an extra level of entertainment. Anything else? Any other questions, concerns? Okay. Thank you for your time, and look forward to town meeting.
Thank you.
Thanks, Keith.
Thank you. Okay, so item 2 is police transfer, K-9 account, and possible votes. So Nick's not visiting tonight, right?
The chief of police is out of town tonight in observance of the wake for the slain officer, McCabe, which is an appropriate place for him. I'd invite the finance director to come up if you have any questions. But basically, you discontinued the K-9 operation. Funds remain. And the chief has requested transfer of those funds. Per his memo to you. So he's got $6,644.88 remaining. Those were, I believe, donations. So he'd like to have authority to use those donations for capital improvements, police and dispatch equipment, and dispatch uniforms. Basically, he's gonna clean up some of his operational expenses.
See any issues with that? Anybody have a motion?
I move that we move the sum of $6,644.88 from the K-9 account to the police donations account.
I'll second that.
Made by Dave, seconded by Mike. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Our favorite part, assign motions.
That's simple.
Nothing one.
It's passed over. Nice try, Tim.
I tried.
Perfect for you.
Yep.
Well, somebody's got to announce it.
We're just gonna, Tim can announce it since he wanted it.
Isn't the moderator gonna combine those?
Can you just, does we even need to stand up and announce it, or can we just do, like, the moderator just acknowledge it as passed over?
Yeah, I don't, I mean, the article,
Because there's no action to be taken.
I
is
gotta
there?
think about that, because I was actually thinking about that at dinner, because my thought was if nobody makes the motion, then it, you know,
I think you've done it before, if my memory is correct.
I think I've actually taken to pass it over. Because action according to the bylaws, action has to be taken on each article, so, you know, I'll probably just say, you know, is there a motion to pass over Article 1, second?
Okay. So who wants to take, Article 2?
I'll do 2, 3.
Okay. 2 and 3 are Tim. Who wants 4?
I'll take 4 and 5.
Okay, so 4 and 5 are Dave.
Go wherever you want to put me.
Articles 2 and 3.
May not require you.
I might have you make those from the floor. So just say, you know, is there a motion to, you know, for Article 2 and 3, you know, so moved, and we'll recognize you as giving the motion. That way we have it.
Okay.
Alright, so the next ones that come up for the selectmen would be 9. Personnel bylaw and classification update.
I'll take 9 and 10.
9 and 10 are by Mr. Hughes. Who wants 12?
Want me to do 12?
Yeah, if you want 12. No?
Yeah.
I can take 13 and 14. I'm thinking the Article 16, the adopt no solicitation bylaw, that should fall under us, shouldn't it?
Well,
Because it's all question marks right now.
I know, because I wasn't sure, and I do have, town council is reviewing them right now, so if you wanna just, go ahead and assign it, and then if it's not you, then we'll make the change.
You'll do 16?
I'll do 16, sir.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Yeah, that's all of them.
No, 22.
Oh, 22, the amend general bylaw use of private ways.
Did you do that?
Yeah. So Hal will take 22. That's got him.
At about 2 o'clock in the morning.
Or 2 a.m. If you're sleeping or taking a nap, I'll do it for you. All right, that's fair.
Strong black coffee now.
I'm sorry, who took 22?
Hal.
Thank you.
Which brings us to approved junk dealer license renewals.
In your packet are the listing of the junk dealer licenses and the checklist, just to show you that everything is complete. These are, for some reason, the one licenses that end in May and are renewed in May, and the town clerk is the one that actually signs them. You approve them, and she signs them.
Okay. So we have Tanya's Treasures,
Beaupre Scrap.
Beaupre Scrap,
Metal,
and Simply
then-
Posh.
Yeah. And again, this is all just for secondhand,
Goods.
selling secondhand goods. Except for the scrap.
French pronunciation of
It's not very sensitive of them to call it a
I
junk
know.
dealer
Yes, not-
license.
yes.
A very non-PC.
Pre-owned goods.
Pre-owned goods. Gently used.
So I'll move that we approve the 3 junk dealer licenses as presented by Suzanne.
Second?
Made by Mike, seconded by Dave. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, can I go back just a second to the warrant and our document entitled Annual Town Meeting Motion and Presenters?
Yes.
Article 5.
Did I miss one?
No, it's just, we have a potentially the BBT rep making the motion.
Okay.
But will he actually make a motion to undercut?
No, that was just because in the past, that's the way it's been done.
Okay.
So would that be us or Fin? I thought we
I thought
said
that was gonna be
FinCom was doing
FinCom.
that.
That's fine, I just want to make certain
Yeah,
that.
I did have question marks there.
All right. So, yeah, I think that would be FinCom.
FinCom. Okay.
Good catch, Jeff.
Thank you.
Thanks. Sign the May 8th, 2018 election warrant and possible votes.
If someone could get me in contact with the BBT rep,
Sure.
that would be helpful. Make sure there's no surprises.
I don't know if I have one, I'll try to find one.
Okay.
So I make a motion that we sign the election warrant as presented.
Second?
Made by Mike, seconded by Tim. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Okay. So this brings us to the minutes for the March 29th, 2018 regular and executive session, April 17th, 2018.
Make a motion to accept the minutes of March 29, 2018. And the executive session meeting minutes retaining all.
Okay.
Second.
Made by Tim, seconded by Hal. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
So that cover I think the only thing we missed was the April 17th regular session.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I don't think we had to
No.
retain the March 29th executive session minutes.
There was no executive session, it was only a regular session on the 29th. Regular
we
and
had a-
executive session was
No,
on the 17th.
this one was the executive
We
session.
did
We
it.
only stayed in there
It
for
was-
a few minutes.
It
and
was
then we-
April 10th,
Oh,
that
remember.
was not.
Okay.
So actually, it's really, it's public minutes anyway.
No, March 29th was executive session. April 10th was the ones that was supposed to be executive, but you kept open.
All right, are we good on the motion that's out there then? Or- Can I borrow your pen, Tim? Thanks.
No, I'm wrong.
Confused me, so I wasn't gonna say anyway.
Can we do something here,
I'm
Ben?
told to respect my elders.
Help me?
Duncan Stewart.
You weren't even here.
It's been a long day.
Go sit in the corner,
I'm
Suzanne.
not feeling good. I use that excuse a lot, don't I?
Are we good with the motion that was presented and seconded, and can I
I've
move
lost
on?
track of where you are.
I'm gonna say that we are.
We
No.
approved the March 29th minutes, the regular and executive session.
That's
Yeah, and you did
Um,
not need to hold
And
them.
we did not need to retain the
Right.
executive session. And now we're supposed to be approving the,
April 10th.
although it says April 17th on our agenda, so.
That too is my fault.
One cancels out the other. Two wrongs.
So I can't find the April 17th one.
Little help here, Mr. Moderator?
So I'll move that we approve the April 10th, 2018 Board of Selectmen minutes.
Anybody second that? Nobody's
Wasn't there. Second.
Hal seconds it. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye.
I will abstain, I was not at the meeting.
Do you want to abstain from the 17th meeting minutes too?
I'm not
Because
aware
none of us
that.
were there, so we're all gonna abstain?
I'll leave my abstention at the 10th, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Matt, your report?
I
Could
don't
you
have-
tell us what happened on the 17th?
I don't have much for you. We're starting a pattern that'll play out over the spring of advertising for different replacements, so people should be used to seeing it. We had one medic leave the fire department, so we are advertising to replace that position. We have previously discussed and the board approved leaving the intermunicipal agreement with Northbridge for IT. So we're gonna have to go out and advertise for an appropriate vendor to fill that role for the town. We also have a retirement from the building official's office. That's a pretty important clerk position because it keeps the workflow moving. It's the way we're able to have a part-time building official is to have a full-time clerk who's
Right.
keeping everything organized. So Jane has announced that she'd like to retire in May. So we'll be advertising for that position as well. So in this time of, great attention to the budget, I want to just point out to people, we're replacing people we already have. And in the case of the building official's office, the new hire will necessarily be paid less than the experienced persons with the town for a long time. So there's no new spending there, that's just
Maybe less
ongoing
spending.
operations at the town.
Okay,
Thank you for that.
that's it.
That's all I have for tonight.
How about the bridge work, how's that progressing?
Well, that's a good question. We still anticipate having the bridge operational again by end of spring, early summer. I believe, they're before Concom, if not tonight, then it's this week, to get the final sign-off for the permit to do the work. And then it has to go out to bid for the standard period of time. The edits were made to the scope of the work to include the upgrade of the water pipe from 8 inches to 12 inches. So that should be progressing along. We'll probably see the paving work on Manchog and Mechanic Street done before we see North Street Bridge finished.
Guarantee it's done by Oktoberfest though.
We would not want to have any ripples in the pond, so, no.
Okay. Any old business?
I had one, but it escaped me. It was a good one too. I can't think of it. Next time.
Put it in your pocket, we'll get it for the next
Yeah,
one,
it
right?
was- it was good.
Make a note.
I thought to myself, wow, this was a good one.
Suzanne, can you put that in the notes, that Conan had a motion that he forgot, but we'll get it on
But
the
it was
next
a good one.
It was
It's
a
a
good
good
one.
one.
Yeah, please
Yeah.
describe it as a good one.
It was a good one.
No, it showed a lot of foresight, whatever it was. I laughed at myself and said, damn, I'm good. I just don't know what it is.
You want another minute? Like,
No,
you
it'll
think
come.
It's not
Wanna
gonna
get
come
up and
back?
walk around, or?
So keep going.
All right, then. Any new business?
Are there specific things the board would want us to prepare for Tuesday's town hall meeting?
Yes, there is some things that I'm thinking would be helpful. If we have a list of the cuts that have been made on the municipal side, going back to the first proposal of an override in 2014,
I'd even go back,
13.
we were cutting teachers before we even built those new schools.
So right now I started at 2007.
Okay.
All right.
That's about where.
Yeah, that
we need to
works. So from 2007 to date, if we could have a list of that. So the decrease in pilot payments from 2007
Yes.
to now.
And if possible, the increase in land acquired by the state.
Yeah. One's increasing and one's decreasing.
Yeah. Kinda counterintuitive when you
Yeah.
think about it.
Right, so.
If I may.
You may.
I know one of the things that kind of comes up that stretches the trust between town government and the people is when every time a Prop 2.5 override has been proposed, there's usually, a hit list. Okay, like, if we do these, we're not gonna be able to buy this police cruiser, we're not gonna be able to do this, we're not gonna be able to do this. I would take those hit lists, because one of the things that happened last time was, we said, hey, there's not gonna be any police cruisers, and then, as some people term it, magically, there were police cruisers. And that money came from somewhere, and it was a very specific thing that happened that allowed it, that allowed those police cruisers to be purchased. And the problem is that we don't do a very good job of educating people about, how we go from the doomsday scenario to the, to just the apocalypse. Like it just, there's shifts there that happen, and it's not magic. I mean, there's reasons why, the state makes it that much more difficult, to hold that trust between the town government and the town voters, who may not then follow the whole process the whole way through. So, just something that might be helpful is to take those hit lists and say, yeah, you may have seen that police cruiser, but this is why. And this
So
is
like
why
the
you can't
one-time
necessarily
hits in
do it.
revenue or funding that we've gotten through grant or through whatever that resulted in us
Yeah.
being able to do it.
Like I said, there are very specific reasons why, like there was less teachers laid off, and there was, there was, like I said, we're still able to make some capital improvements, and, there was, I'm trying to think of what it was. It was, I think part of it was the snow. We had that apocalyptic snow. I used apocalypse twice in one meeting.
Can you get one more?
I don't think so.
All right.
But when we had that horrendous winter, and I think the state actually gave us some emergency funds that replenished some of that, and so that was able to actually save some of the budget, if I remember right. Which again, my memory is dipped in hops, so it's not always crystal clear, but.
I remember that winter, because the
Yes.
roads got exponentially narrower every
Yeah.
snowstorm that came through.
Yeah, and it was one of the few times where the state actually was like, hey, yeah, you guys really had it rough, so here's some money. So, anyway, like I said, I'd go back, find some of those hit lists, and then, just kind of explain why those things happened.
Yeah, makes sense.
It was 2013 where we didn't think we were gonna be able to fund the cruisers, but did about 3 weeks before the vote.
2013, what a great year. That's when I get onto the Board of Selectmen.
Mhm.
That's all I can really, I mean, those are all good talking points.
Okay.
Any other new business? You sure you don't have one more apocalypse in you?
Any rooster jokes, or is that?
We gotta save those for town meeting.
All right. All right, so seeing as there's no new business, do I hear a motion for adjournment?
So moved.
Second.
Made by Dave, seconded by Mike. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye.